Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, because these are the men who I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahabashai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahabashai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahabashai. And pretty much I'm in a secluded location, but you know, a couple feet from me, they're having like a little get together for the kids playing music, but you know, I'm in a location where you can't see me. All right, so you may hear music and bickering in the background, but as long as you can hear the message of the video. Now, this topic, I've done this video probably like 3 times on my older channels, and the topic of this video I'm going into again is, why was John the Revelator banished to the island of Patmos? All right, what was the cause of that caused him to be banished? Well, he committed what the Roman authorities considered treason, because he didn't want to bow down to Domitian. That's why he was banished to the island of Patmos. And the scriptures tell you that there's nothing new under the sun, which I got these scriptures lined up. And just as we was once persecuted under the first beast in Revelation 13, which is the ancient Roman Empire, some of us got put to death in our past lives, you know, being under the Roman authority. The same thing is going to happen when they make the mark of the beast mandatory. All right, because whoever doesn't want to worship the image of the beast, which is his new world order, cashless digital society, ultimately his whole centralized system, then you're going to get put to death. You're going to be beheaded. But before that happens, you're going to be persecuted first. All right, so you got to arm your mind with, one day you might have to you know, get put to death. You might have to be thrown in prison. So this is the time period where you want to build your faith up and understand what you're a part of. Being in this truth, it involves suffering wrongfully. I'll say number one. But really, number one is suffering and having patience. All right? Waiting for these prophecies to come to pass. So now, that's read about John, which, you know, these are some Russia icons. I'm not going to make the whole lesson about these photos. But when you read Revelation 1, 2, and 3, it's letters that were sent to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. All right? Like, I recently just did a video breaking down Revelation 2 and 9, which that was a message to Smyrna. All right? And then Revelation 3 and 9, that was a message to the church that was in Philadelphia. All right, so that's what it was really referring to. It was referring to enemies of the cross, which was wicked Israelites that didn't believe on Yahweh, Yahabashai, and the message that his men was proclaiming throughout the planet Earth at that time. All right, so, you know, without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So now, this is Revelation chapter 1 and verse 9. All right. So the thing I really like about the blue letter is that you got to understand the whole chapter sometimes that you could be reading, it could be going into different time periods. It could be prophesying about the future. It could be talking about secular history that already took place. So what I like about the blue letter is that it stays on topic by giving you subject headliners. As you can see here, the revelation of Yahabashah Mashiach. So that's what the first 3 verses on down is going to be going into. And then when you get to about verse 4, it says what? Message to the 7 churches of Asia Minor. So the first 3 chapters, ultimately, that's what it's going to be going into. You know, because you got particular camps and individuals that's ignorant. They don't break nothing down. Just like Deuteronomy 20th chapter. That chapter, it goes into curses, but it mainly goes into secular history, which is the siege of Jerusalem and everything that was taking place back then, leading up to us being scattered through the four corners of the earth. But the only ones I heard break it down correctly like that is the apostles of Great Millstone. All right? See, here at Great Millstone, we get all the meat off the bone. You got to understand what you're reading. I don't want to sound ignorant bringing out the scriptures. You know, you in front of an Edomite scholar or a heathen, and you read Revelation 2 and 9, and you don't even understand it's talking about actual non-believing Jews. All right? Non-believing Israelites. But, you know, scripture is twofold anyways. So now let's get down here. The Patmos vision. All right? Now, this is Revelation chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, I, John, who also am your brother. Who is John speaking to? And then it has the word brother, letting you know what? He's talking about, it's going to go into it. Strong's G80 Adelphos. I'm familiar with that because Paul uses the same wording. When Paul starts off his letters, he starts it off as brethren. You know, he uses words like brethren, church, saints, dearly beloved. He uses words like us. Why is he using wording like that? Because he's addressing a specific seed line of people, a specific nation. All right? This is what John is doing. He's sending letters to Israelites that's in one of these 7 churches of Asia Minor. So the word there is Adelphos, which says what? A brother whether born of the same 2 parents or only of the same father or mother. Here's the point. Having the same national ancestor. So John is addressing who? The seed of the promise, which is the Israelites, which are the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. All right? Having the same national ancestor. What do we all have in common, even though we come from different tribes? We come from the same seed line. It ain't bloodline. All right? It's seed line. That's what it is. It ain't bloodline. Continuing on, having the same national ancestor, which is who? The fathers of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Belonging to the same people or countrymen. All right? This is Revelation chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, because they were being persecuted under the Romans. We was catching a lot of hell under the Romans. All right? A lot of our people died under the Romans, even Yahushua, right? In tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Yahushua Mashiach was in the isle, right? That is called Patmos. And let's go into this word on Patmos. As we already know the word, it's in Greek already. The word Patmos in Greek, it means mind killing, because that's what they were doing to people that they deemed as criminals, that didn't want to bow down to the Roman authority, the Roman government. You know, the Roman paganized heathen ways, their ways of worshiping, their religious ceremonies and rituals and high holy days, paganism, idolatry, fornication, things that the Most High hate. But they was persecuting the Christians. And who were the Christians? In Acts the 6th and 11th chapter, they were Jews that followed the Messiah. All right? So Patmos equals what? Mind killing. It says a rugged and bare island in the Aegean Sea. All right? So this is where the Roman authorities was banishing, you know, people that went against the government, people that they deemed as criminals. And the prophets got caught up in that. All right? So it says, for the word of the Most High. Because John didn't want to bow down to Domitian. I'm going to get into it. And for the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. Now, check this out. I typed in on Google, because y'all know I love the AI. I love AI. For the lessons, woo, man, it's real good. Why was John the Revelator banished to the island of Patmos? It says John the Revelator was banished to the island of Patmos because he boldly preached the gospel of Yahushua Mashiach and refused to participate in mandatory worship of the Roman emperor. All right? John didn't want to bow down to the Edomites. He didn't want to bow down to the Roman government. Certain things in the truth, you're just gonna have to draw a line, man, when it comes to worshiping and serving and prove your faith to Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. All right? He didn't want to participate in idol worship, fornication, the paganism. All right? Historical accounts, including early church fathers like Irenaeus and Eusebius, link his exile directly to anti-Christian persecutions under the Roman Emperor Domitian in the mid-90s AD. All right? So under that Flavian dynasty, they were persecuting and killing us, man. Titus, you know, Domitian, Vespasian, their father, because they were brothers, Domitian and Titus. All right? But our people caught a lot of hell, man. A lot of our people got put to death. The scriptures tell you that the kingdom of heaven, it suffered violence, all right, since the days of John the Baptist. When John the Baptist was on the scene, what nation, according to Daniel the 2nd chapter, right, the iron, who was in rulership? Rome, all right, the Edomites. So keeping it going, the remote and rugged island of Patmos, the word Patmos equal what? Mind killing, right? Was frequently used by the Romans to isolate and punish serious criminals, seditious individuals, which would be like John and, you know, anybody else, right? That's coming in the spirit of Yahweh Yahushua, and those deemed a threat to the empire's political and religious order. So John the Revelator was banished to the island of Patmos. Why? Because he went against the empire's political and religious order. He didn't want to worship and bow down to Domitian and forsaking his God and oppressors doing that. All right? So now, let's go down here. You got to understand what you're reading. It says additional details regarding his banishment include biblical confirmation and what I just read, right? John himself confirms the reason for his exile in Revelation 1 and 9, stating he was on the island on account of the word of the Most High and the testimony of Yahushua, right? Imperial persecution. Christians, who were the Christians? Jews that followed the Messiah. It was a derogatory term that was put up on them. The followers of the anointed, the Hamashiachim, right? It says imperial persecution. It says Christians during Domitian's reign faced heavy persecution for their refusal to recognize the emperor as a deity. Because you probably remember, you know, the old videos I used to do. And when I do my own videos, I memorize things faster. You know, it comes to my mind faster because I repeated so much and I did a video on it. So it's sharp in my memory. So you may have heard me say, oh, you know, John, he was banished because he didn't want to worship the mission. That's the research I did, so I'm just quoting it. But now, you get to see it for yourself now, right? And John's influence as one of the last surviving disciples made him a prime target, right, to set that example. It says tradition and hard labor. According to church tradition, Roman authorities attempted to execute John by throwing him into a vat of boiling oil. When he miraculously survived, he was sentenced to exile and hard labor in the mines of Patmos, right? So he would be there until he died. The book of Revelation. It was during this period of forced isolation that John received and penned the book of Revelation. Release. He was ultimately permitted to return to his followers in Ephesus around 96 AD after Domitian's death and the ascension of Emperor Nerva. All right. So that's with that. Now let's check this out. I had typed in, because I did a video on it, so I remember, you know, the research I did, right? So this is why I typed in on Google. The island of Patmos is one of 3 islands, right? Now it says the island of Patmos is not just part of a trio, it is actually a prominent part of the Docanancy Archipelago. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but you see how it's spelled there, in the Argentinian Sea. Same thing the blue letter said, right? Which consists of 15 larger islands and over 150 smaller islets. Let's go down here. So it says, If you are thinking of a grouping of three, it might be municipality of Patmos or a specific historical reference, right? Geographically, the municipality of Patmos encompasses Patmos along with two smaller nearby offshore islands, Orkoi and Marathos. Historically, the Aegean island group, the Sporades, was known in classical antiquity to include sets of three. For example, the Roman historian Tacitus specifically mentioned a different grouping of three islands in the Sporades, right? It says Donutsa, Garius, and Amorgus, where the Romans exiled political prisoners. All right? So they sent John to Patmos. Patmos is most famous worldwide as a scarce destination. It is recognized as the place where St. John the Apostle lived in exile and received the visions that led to the writing of the book of Revelation. So he received a lot of visions, like World War I, II, III, the mark of the beast being the RFID chip implant, persecution of the saints, right? The description of the Most High and Yahushua, because he brings up the Most High in Revelation 4, all right? The elect of the nation of Israel. I mean, it's a lot up in there, all right? Visions of the kingdom of heaven, what that's going to look like. So that's it with that. So the purpose of me reading that is because why? We're going to be persecuted just as John was persecuted, because this is the revived Roman Empire. History is going to repeat itself. Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience is synonymous with suffering, and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. We got hope in Yahushua. All right? We put our faith into Yahushua's blood sacrifice and resurrection. NLT version, Ecclesiastes 1:9. It says, history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. So just as we was getting persecuted under the first beast, which is the ancient Roman Empire, we're in the revived Roman Empire in the form of the second beast, which is who? America. All right? As well as the EU, which makes up the image of the beast. Right? It says, nothing under the sun is truly new, meaning the spirits. Right? Sometimes people say, here is something new. Like, they may come up with a form of technology to make your life easier, but in the ancient world, they had that too. It was just, more rigorous. You had to do like hard labor, right? See, now everything could just get done with a machine. It says, Ecclesiastes 1:10, sometimes people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Reincarnation is in the Bible. You come back in the flesh through the seed of your fathers. Every third or fourth generation, which would be like 75 to 100 years, or whatever the Most High want, right? It says, sometimes people say, here is something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past, because it's reincarnation. How come this person come out deformed? How come they got this type of birth defect? Oh, how come that baby, is born dead? All type of shit. That's because it's the judgment of the Lord. Hebrews 9:27. You die, your spirit go up to the spirit world. You receive your judgment based off of, how you lived your life. And that's that. You come back to the seed of your fathers when the Most High is ready for you to do that. Ecclesiastes 1:10 NLT. It says, sometimes people say, here's something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past, and in future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. All right? But they all going to remember what we're doing now, because it's a legacy. So let's go here, because we're going to be persecuted. Revelation 13:15. It says that he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Right? He got the power from the Most High to what? To give life unto the image of the beast, his system, his New World Order agenda. He wants a cashless digital society. He wants the central bank digital currency as a one world currency. He don't want countries using fiat currency, using paper money, using Federal Reserve notes. He don't want that. All right. So it says to give life unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast is his new world order, his centralized banking system. All right. Everything that comes with that. You know, his military might, his democracy, westernization, everything you could think of that revolves around his system and his order, his authority. It says that the image of the beast should both speak, and it's speaking right now. Look at all these new articles and current events that's going on. The prophecy is speaking. It says, and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that's what's going to happen to some brothers. Some brothers going to get put to death. Some brothers going to be beheaded. So we got to be in that mindset, like, look, no matter what happened to me, the Most High, he could take my woman from me. He could take my kids from me. He could take my money from me, but don't take my faith and my hope from me. All right? It says, and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So that's what's going to happen. That's what's up next. This is I think I had the tab open twice. Okay. This is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 4, finishing it up right here. It says, so this is another vision that John the Revelator received on the island of Patmos. All right. And I saw thrones, right? He saw thrones representing the elect of the nation of Israel sitting on thrones, right? Beginning with himself, because you're going to have Yahushua, you're going to have Peter, you're going to have the 12 disciples. Remember, their names is going to be written on the 12 gates of the children of Israel in the kingdom. It says, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, because we overcame Esau and his new world order system by the blood of the Lamb, right? Which the Lamb is Yahushua. It says, and so the souls of them that were beheaded. So some of us is going to be beheaded. Some of us are going to die. You know? We don't know what's going to happen. Don't get comfortable, man. Don't get comfortable. It says, continuing on, and I saw the souls of them, the elect of the nation of Israel, that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of Yahweh, and which had not worshipped the beast, right? Which the beast is named on the EU, but referring to the so-called white man and his system, right? Neither his image, his system, right? New world order. Neither had received his mark, the RFID chip implant. It says upon their foreheads, braid chip implants, or in their hands, left or right hand, you're getting judged. According to what? Revelation 14, verses 9 through 12, all right? It says upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. Representing what? Our kingdom is going to be fully established within that 1,000th year. The heathen is going to build up our walls so that it can fulfill what? The next chapter. All right? So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to do this video to show you why John was being persecuted and how that still applies to today, because they could demonize us. They could call us domestic terrorists. They could use one of these false prophets to stage a false flag attack or a real event and just blame every Israelite they see. But persecution is coming, because we're in the days of Jacob's trouble. So Lord willing, you was edified. Shalom.